Hi all, this is Jan of the Jan Files. If you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, please do so by either going to Blue Sky, and you'll find it in my bio, or in TikTok. I always post it with every post. I would greatly appreciate your help. So I'm going to talk about Epstein, and I'm going to talk about two things. One, this story, this scandal is bigger than any of us, I think, could imagine. That is my opinion. I think that when this is all comes out, and it will, how, when, I don't know, obviously, but it will come out because now there are international investigations with real people, with real justice departments, because that's not what we have. Our Justice Department is a joke. It doesn't actually have anything to do with justice. It's covering up the Epstein files, and it's making very impossible for these victims to get justice. And so I think that we are going to be on the floor when we actually finally see what these men did. And wasn't just Epstein, obviously. There's a lot of other very, very powerful white men who abused that power because they could. They obviously thought they could do anything and get away with it. That's kind of Trump's philosophy that he was taught by Roy Cohn, who said, whenever you're accused of anything, deny, 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 deny. And that's how Trump learned that, right? He never admits anything. And these powerful men thought that, hey, no problem if I'm going to do this stuff, like Leon Black, who you can look him up, how big he is, how big a hedge fund manager, I think one of the largest global equity firms there is. Here is something that was between a lawyer representing one of the victims, and I'm not sure who the other person was. Of course, it's redacted, right? But in here, the girl accuses Leon Black of. So this is what I'm going to say, and it's horrific. So you're just going to have to deal with it because she had to deal with it, right? This was 7 to 8 years. Black was sexually violent with her. Black bites parts of her vagina. Violence was arousing for him, very painful for her. Then there's further down, got a call from another woman, who said she had heard about the lawsuit against Black. Victim said Black raped her around 20 years ago in Epstein's townhouse. Again, she described it as it felt pain, etc. That's really just one example of thousands. Think about that. There's an estimated over thousands of victims, thousands of little girls, and maybe also little boys. We don't know. But I'm going to tell you that this is going to be more horrific than any of us could imagine. And so to that, I say, brace yourselves. And for those women and men who have experienced this kind of trafficking and abuse and rape, etc., torture, we'll carry this for you. And I think that's what we need to let people know, that those who can't, we can. And that is our obligation here. So what do I mean by that? Because I know that it feels close but so distant, right? Well, here's what I think we start needing to ask. The questions that we need to start asking and calling about and letting the media know. Here's the question I want those people to be asked. Those Republicans who don't believe it's true, or they believe it's true, but they're not admitting it, or saying it's a hoax, or supporting Donald Trump. Here's the question I want them to be asked. What would you do if this happened to your little girl? What would you do? What would your husband do? Would they ignore it? Would they question your daughter's truth? Would they say, "Oh, she wanted it, that she was just a little prostitute"? I mean, that is the core for me of how anybody can cover this up, because that's the question. It's the question I want to get out to FBI agents and DOJ people. What would you do if this was your daughter? Many of them have daughters. And ask for an answer, especially if you can email your representatives. What would you do if this was your daughter? I know what I would do. I know what my husband would do. And I'd have to control him, because I know what he would want to do, right? You would know what you would want to do. And yet these people can't even find it within themselves to speak up, to speak out and say, no, this isn't right. And they should have no problem, because, folks, this isn't political in the sense that the cover-up is absolutely political. But these were Democrats and Republicans in very high places, from MIT to Harvard to hedge funds to, the Les Wexners of the world, who was, billions. These billionaires, it's like they somehow cut something off between their heart, or maybe it's that. Maybe it's just that they just take their heart out of everything, because that allows them to screw people over monetarily, to not care about the people they hurt when they do takeovers and people lose their jobs. It allows them to abuse and rape little girls because there is no heart. There's no moral. There are no morals. Where are their morals? And I think we need to start really having those kinds of conversations, especially with anybody who says, oh, this just needs to go away. Oh, really? Oh, really? It just needs to go away? What would you do if it was your daughter? What would you do if your daughter 20 years later was still experiencing the trauma? That trauma had never left her, had impacted her entire life. And with Virginia Giuffre, she killed herself. She's not the only one. So I really want people to start demanding to that question and be asked at all times, at all opportunities. And, the only way we're going to do this is ourselves. And I keep going to we the people. You cannot rely on the media. You can rely on some independent media, but you can't really rely on mainstream media to go for that. Because once again, who are they controlled by? The Larry Ellisons of the world? Who are they controlled by? Just think about that. Just think about this whole corporation, this whole corporate body that has taken over the United States. And they've long ago taken their heart away. Because it's not the heart that's important, it's the shareholders. And making that God Almighty buck. So that's the question I have. What would you do if this was your daughter? Take care. Stay safe.